Hey there, CIS102. Howdy. I know it's been a couple of weeks. And first of all, congratulations on having completed the course. Really, I don't say this often, but I did want to laud you guys. I think that you guys did exceptionally well for a I apologize, a CIS 102 course that ran in the first 8 weeks of what is our continued national for global frickin' weirdness. And honestly, just across the board, I was really very, very satisfied with how everybody did. So I wanted to start this by mentioning that because I feel like it's one of the things instructors like me don't always get an opportunity to do is like go knock on the door of your next class and go, yo, you guys did okay. And I think that's a feedback that students don't get because otherwise we've damaged your psyche entirely by the time it is you go to whatever your next classes are. And speaking of whatever your next classes are, what I wanted to do with this video really was reach out to all of you to give you some suggestions for what classes to take next. Now that you have 102 out of the way, you really have this wide open opportunity to build on what we did in CIS 102 and to develop skills that employers are looking for. It's one of the reasons we have a computer science course in every one of the different disciplines that all of you are out here taking, is because it doesn't matter if you go into nursing or automotive or if you go into whatever, military service, if you go into education, if you go into finance, you are going to need more and more computer science to be able to be highly, highly successful. So now that you've completed 102, what are some courses that you can take that might be of interest to you? Now, I know one of the last things we did, and one of, just by nature of an 8-week course, we kind of condensed the web development portion a little more than I would prefer. So my previous lifetimes were spent doing web development. So this is something that is certainly near and dear to my heart, is web development. Taking what you learned in that last session with brackets and HTML and CSS. We have a Web 101 and a Web 102 course coming up in fall. Now, they are dovetailed together so that in one semester you can actually accomplish 8 credits of web design, which is going to be of use to you irrespective of the industry it is that you choose to explore later on down the road. In Web 101, we take what you started doing with HTML and CSS, and by the time we're done in that 8 weeks, you can, in very, very short order, make a professional web page for a company. And that is not hyperbole. You would be surprised at the amount of design we can get you comfortable with in that 8-week time frame. The dovetail course to that is Web 102. In Web 102, it's called from a specific to a survey course. So a Web 102 course covers a whole bunch of things that you're going to see as a web designer. So we're going to cover things like interactivity through JavaScript. We're going to cover things like database connectivity with PHP. We are going to see some platforms like we're going to see some WordPress. We are going to see there's a whole scope of things that we'll see in there. We'll actually do some interactive design with Adobe Animate. So we cover a lot of ground in those 2 courses, and you can really get a lot of a web certificate out of the way in just 16 weeks. Now, let me point you to summer this year or next year. We also offer a Web 111, which is Adobe Animate, which is an industry standard. So if you want to make interactive content, you are going to use Adobe Animate. Also, if you want a website published for pretty much anything, our Web 290 course covers WordPress, which really is one of the big 3 when it comes to overall how it is that we think about hosting websites for the internet. So Web 101 and Web 102 in fall. In either this summer, if you're going to do it this summer, please reach out and talk to me. Otherwise, if you're going to do it next summer, please reach out and talk to me. Is Web 111 and Web 290. And both of those courses run online for the first 3 weeks of summer 1. And actually, those are built to dovetail together too, so that in 3 weeks, you can accomplish 6 credits towards a web design certificate, which will absolutely pay dividends when you get out into whatever industry it is that you are going to investigate a degree in with us. So that's the web side of things, but what about the computer science side of things now that you've gotten the CIS102? Well, my suggestions are twofold. One is to start in fall if you are able. Our courses are actually filling up really very, very quickly. I think that everybody's like loosening up a little bit now that the end of the pandemic is feasibly in sight, but that doesn't mean please don't let your guard down yet. We just had 2 students come down with COVID this very week. So it is still nothing to be trifled with. In the fall, if it's available. Otherwise, in the spring of 22, when it is available, we actually will have 2 sections in spring. It's CIS170, which is programming, logic, and design. Now that you understand a little bit more about how you interact with a computer, why don't we go and develop processes that you would use to actually develop an application potentially. And really, if you are in computer science, or if you are in an engineering field, or if you are in any field where you are going to interact with a person, we do our CIS 102. It's not just programming logic and design, it is process logic and design. So if you are going to work with people and get them to do something, you are going to need process design. It will help. In the spring, so that is a year from now, but it's worth starting to look at that. Now we offer only once a year. It's called CIS 240, and that is an introduction to JavaScript. Java, my mistake. I'm sorry, I'm reading my note here and I'm reading it incorrectly. An introduction to Java only comes up once a year. And if you had any interest in developing for an application, if you wanted to learn later on down the line something like mobile application development, we do those as well, and those are offered as a my note just disappeared. But those are offered Android development in fall, and then iOS development in spring. So we have a wealth of courses out there that are filling up fast and that do make sense for you to go ahead and take. So please, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, or you want to know what it is that these could do for you, for your career, for your earning potential, for your, interview supercharging, whatever it is that you need out of that, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself. I'm going to volunteer the rest of our CIS faculty. So if you want to investigate more of our security or networking strands of our program, please reach out and we will connect you to people who can tell you more about those programs. So just one more time, really, you guys did a phenomenal job, not just all things considered, just despite being all things considered and above and beyond. So great work, CIS 102, and do consider taking some of our courses. And if ever you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.